Purge was probably one of, if not the most dominant teams in Warzone history. But I've never exactly went in my head and brought it out to you guys as far as where the idea came from with the Purge and the storyline planning and everything. So this time around, join me as we bring you a different side of the Purge. What's going on, guys? This is once again Apex the New King, bringing you guys a little bit something different this time. More likely I'm just tracing back the origins of the Purge and ultimately what brought the idea to my head and kind of like how I brought it to the screen, because it originated online with two of my friends. That's where it originated from, and it just grew over time into something a bit more. King was my creation, and of course I wanted him to be a part of my bigger vision. And then the American Athlete was a creation by one of my friends. He goes by ATP Snake Eyes. He was the powerhouse of our forward. And then we had Fugaku, who was originally supposed to be our third member, but Fugaku, it's a different story to him because he was not uploaded to community creations by the time I was actually done, putting together my universe and I had my ideas set in stone. Fugaku wasn't exactly uploaded yet, so I wasn't able to incorporate him into the Purge, which made me work a separate story, which it worked out fine. It worked out fine because I had a story in mind, but of course with me not controlling any of the matches really, I kinda had to hope and pray that nothing outlandish happened. Like my entire outlook on King was never supposed to be world heavyweight champion, but in the first episode he won the championship in the first episode, which that forced me to turn into an alternate story between him and the Warzone general manager Steve, who, they feuded over the world championship, but they didn't do it just simply so they can be you beat me and I beat you. No, I did it so they could have an absolute classic matchup. For one, I wanted them to have a classic matchup because I wanted King to be able to have a classic matchup alongside Steve as well. I also wanted him to be a part of it because I knew that since I didn't have a Fugaku, the two of them having this amazing matchup, and when you have an amazing matchup, normally you earn respect for that person, and that's kind of the thing I was going for with these two having this matchup. Of course they had the rivalry beforehand, but ultimately they gave each other everything they had, and that's all that I was pretty much hoping for. Because I'm gonna keep pointing it out, 98% of the time I do not play the matches, so if it's a 5-star match put on, it's just those superstars put on that match. And just as I didn't have faith really in the story continuing like I wanted it to, I doubted it a lot. I didn't believe that the two of them were going to end things the way I wanted to. Just when I had that thought, I remembered something. I remembered that there was a breakout star who could easily step in and be the world champion. He was primed and ready to take on that part and be the main superstar of Warzone while the development of the Purge was being made. That's all I needed. All I needed was for one of the superstars to, step up and pretty much be ready to take on that part of being world heavyweight champion. His King was never supposed to be. The American Athlete actually made the Purge possible. He made the Purge possible because he was the third man, really. I didn't know what I should expect pretty much coming out of his performance. You had Donnie inside of the Warzone guarantee. You had Dustin Cage inside that match with him. You also had the Demon Blaze, he's a future world champion at that point. And the Rising Sun champion Berserk, who was undefeated at the time. All these names that were in the ring with the American Athlete. And ultimately, I doubted it. I didn't think that I would be able to pull this story off with him a part of it because, again, I was unsure how he would do in the universe. But he proved me wrong because not only did he give Berserk his first pinfall lost, he pinned Berserk. He was the very first person to do so. And that tied again into the story. He pinned Berserk and ultimately ended up winning the entire match. And then that comes that briefcase. That briefcase which held the Warzone guarantee. It's kind of like more Money in the Bank. But he went on to carry that into the next night, even competing in a battle royal full of very talented superstars. You had Chris Carnage there, a known name in Warzone. You had guys like Azrael there. And speaking of Azrael, he added to the story. Just a simple, small part of the universe took over for itself again. And I was really happy to see it go the way it did because it just ultimately ended up to be the American Athlete that eliminated Azrael. And that was set it up because he again went on to win the entire competition, putting shame to everybody around him. He was just that good. The following episode after that, Azrael was set to go one-on-one with the American Athlete off of being eliminated by him. And the way it was set up, I loved it because this was the perfect opportunity. You know, these two people have been waiting to see them go one-on-one. They wanted to see it so bad, and then all of a sudden, like, ultimately, that's all that I could ask for, was that the story fell together so nice the way it did, because it turned around as like he attacks Azrael, everyone thinks he's after him. No, he just wanted to cause the DQ first, and then turned his attention over to the American Athlete, which this was going to be that attack that took him out of action, you know. And since he's being taken out of action, he wasn't the only one. At some point in the story, King was also attacked, which leaves Azrael by himself to take on this looming threat of the three masked men, and then the returning Berserk on top of that. There we have it, the three-man team set up to take on the Purge.
This is not a test. This is your emergency broadcast system announcing the commencement of the annual purge sanctioned by the U.S. government. Weapons of Class 4 and lower have been authorized for use during the purge. All other weapons are restricted. Government officials of ranking 10 have been granted immunity from the purge and shall not be harmed. Commencing at the siren, any and all crime, including murder, will be legal for 12 continuous hours. Police, fire, and emergency medical services will be unavailable until tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. when the purge concludes. Blessed be our new founding fathers and America, a nation reborn. May God be with you all.
If I'm being completely honest, the story behind For the Glory as their entrance theme, I found it entirely on accident. I didn't go looking for it and I just magically came across what I was looking for. No, I found their entrance music simply by accident. And I was on YouTube looking for things that were more of a Purge rap, and I just so happened to see this song that said "For the Glory," and I just clicked on it just because, hoping that it would, show me something that I was looking for, and ultimately, it fit so well with the introduction, the announcement of the Purge. It fit so well with that, and along with going with that, it worked so well with their ring entrance. Now I can play that song literally in one of my Xbox Live parties and people will know what it represents. That's simply what I was going for with the Purge. I wanted it to have an impact so people would know who the Purge are, when they're coming, because you hear the siren. And you know what? In For the Glory, there is a part where it states, "Hear the sirens. We're victorious." That it fits so well. There was nothing else that I could do with that, and I just had to run with it because it works. Revealing that Seth Rollins and AJ Styles were the Masked Men, and then ultimately to have them also fall to the Purge, that cemented a lot for me. That told me that these men aren't going anywhere, because after doing that, they continue to gather momentum. They won championship after championship. All I did was watch this growth happen. I never wanted to put my character in the spotlight like he was, but the Purge, they just became something of their own, and still to this day, there hasn't been a team to pick apart the Purge. It hasn't happened. But since there has been I guess you can say a bad thing going on with 2K20, I'm unsure as far as how the Purge will be affected and how the different teams that come to Warzone will, take advantage of that. But right now, the Purge is here, and they are for the glory.